Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post-Conference Presser for Anfield Index. He was a teeny bit later than normal, wasn't he, Arne Slot, as he kicked off today at 9:45 at the AXA, answering all questions about a multitude of things, such as Mo Salah, Hugo Ekitike, Curtis Jones got a mention, the Premier League, the run of form. Nothing really much about transfers or contracts, although, to be honest, he was never going to, and you know exactly what his answer would have been anyway. But there's plenty to talk about in this one and some predictions to be made at the same time. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from It's Funny in Edinburgh. The sun is out, but so is the rain going across sideways and the wind is howling. And having a look at the Christmas markets, the funniest thing just happened. A lady in the wind tried to take a bite of a bratwurst that she'd bought, and the sausage went and slapped her right in the face. So I had to laugh at that a little bit. Ketchup and mustard everywhere. But we're here to talk about the press conference, aren't we? We're here to talk about the questions Arne Slot was asked, the answers that he gave, the clues from the last game against Brighton at the same time as well, the threats that Spurs will bring in this one, 5:30 on Saturday, and of course, the predicted lineup, score, and scorers at the same time. So let's get into it straight away for this one, ladies and gents. Quite a few things Arne Slot was asked about, quite a few things he answered in terms of players, the teams, results, even the league, because one little peek at the Premier League, and you might not have wanted to do this for a while just because how it's gone. It's not great. I mean, we're in 7th, but at the same time, only 2 points behind Chelsea. Only 10 points off an all-conquering, apparently, sensational Arsenal team as well. But, so be it a little. And it is so bunched up as you go further down. It's 11th place. We'll go into Spurs and we'll talk about them a little bit. But Arne Slot was asked about the league and the competitiveness, and he talked about it in this one. So let's have a listen to what he said about the placings and where we sit right now.
The league table, the first 12, 13, 14, 15 teams are so close to each other that winning or losing matters a lot, with one exception. Although City is coming closer and closer to Arsenal now, but Arsenal's quite far away from us. I think we are, maybe with the exception of Brighton, by the way, because we did concede quite a lot of chances against them. But the other games we were solid, decent. Is decent a good word? But solid defensively. And that's a good base, combined with that players are getting more and more ready to compete at Premier League intensity.
Not sure we're that solid against Leeds. Yeah, against Sunderland we were solid, but it was boring as hell, wasn't it? And we didn't create much. We made it a 0-sum game. It was right against Brighton at the same time that we gave up chances. I think it was 3 big chances each when we looked at the stats. So there's a lot still to work on, but because the table is what he says, so congested, like a win or a loss makes so much difference how quickly you move, I think it's fair to say we know what we expect on Saturday and what we're hoping for at the same time. Hope should meet expectation when you look at form at the moment, and there's not really much mitigation, is there, for him at the same time? And he did talk about the recent form, to be fair. Talked about the last sort of 5 games, which obviously includes we had the Inter game that we won. So the main thing for us is to build on the last 5 games. Players, as he said, getting more ready to compete at Premier League intensity. You can expect more from us in the next part of the season. Damn right we expect more of you off the first part of the season, or second part of the season, sorry. See how bad the first half was? Needs to be better after an interlude. And I'm not talking better as in like chalk ice and maybe a pack of Dairy Milk buttons and that, a gin and tonic and sit down for the second half. Just better across the board, because it's really not been good enough. And that's also one of the reasons, to be fair, why Arne Slot's job's been in question recently. And I think still is somewhat. Maybe not as much as Thomas Frank's, but yeah. So we expect a lot better, starting with Spurs and the second half of this campaign. Injury news was the big one because you're thinking there was a new knock or a few knocks for another time. Please give us some good news. And he gave us an update pretty much quite early across the board. So Cody Gakpo had a positive scan, so he might come back a bit earlier than expected, but that's not tomorrow or next week. Joe Gomez is not in the squad. Dominic Szoboszlai trained yesterday, and Jeremy is back in the squad. So some positives there, starting with Jeremy Frimpong trained, back and available. We need the body at least, don't we? A right back, right wing back, so he can play higher up. So that'll be important for the games coming up and even for tomorrow. So that's great. Connor Bradley, of course, is back from suspension. So that's a positive. Joe Gomez being out, we expected that, as much as sadness and a negative as it is. Dominic Szoboszlai, let's be honest, that was the one though. And he actually said, he trained with parts of us and he got pressed on it and said, we'll have to see, obviously, if he's able to do full training today and see if he's available. But you kind of got the impression that we're expecting, unless there's a rancid surprise coming up, that Dominic Szoboszlai joins Jeremy Frimpong in being available for tomorrow. And the Cody Gakpo thing, I mean, it sounds like, but that's not tomorrow or next week, that he might have a chance of making New Year's Day at Anfield. But yeah, and I'll let you throw in all your opinions about Gakpo being back, which there should be. But positive news on the injury front. I know we've lost Mo, but if you think for this game coming up, there's 3 bodies, maybe more than could have been expected, in Bradley and Frimpong back, 2 right backs, but also we had doubts over Szoboszlai, and that is the biggest one. But I mentioned Mo there, which was actually Vinny O'Connor's opening question on this in the whole of the press conference. And he was honest to say, is it because that's still going on? Is there any more? He said, actions speak louder than words. And he played against Brighton. It wouldn't be fair to Mo or Egypt for me to sit here and talk about it. And of course, Arne Slot was not going to give you any more on the Mo Salah situation. He doesn't need to. Why would he? It's not now really one for him to get involved in. We know the meetings are going to take place between Rami and Richard Hughes. We know it's about Mo Salah's role and what will happen in the future. So it's not really one for Arne Slot to be involved in. We'll have to wait developments because this is going to rumble on all the way through January. And he did talk about players at the same time, Arne Slot, in quite praising mood, which is a bit of a contrast to recently. And he tried to walk these back, I think, a little bit, because he made that scene of the crying comment, didn't he, about Ibu Konate? And he kind of said, well, just to be clear, I'd mentioned before that, centre-halves, because of the nature of their position, that's what I meant. I'm not really sure he did. But anyway, he said he's been unlucky a few times where he has played good games, but a moment decides the game. Recently, he hasn't been at the crime scene, and that is what we prefer. But it's not just about him. Ibu's been better in the last few games, but so have most of the team. Ibu's been pretty awful most of the season, but so have most of the team. You can argue the bit where he called him out to say, yeah, he should. He's been in dreadful form. And I think there's a lot of people, I'll put myself in there, that think he should have had some time out the team as well. But obviously Joe Gomez and that situation, which Arne Slot has referenced at the same time. I just wonder if you'll hear Arne Slot question a player like that again publicly. And some may say, he's entitled to, he's the manager. There's an element of truth to that, but big players or players with egos, and that's not being derogatory, a lot of elite players will have those, won't appreciate being called out publicly. And there's been talk, hasn't there, about Arne Slot and the way he's spoken about players like Kelleher, the treatment of Chiesa and all that. Just felt like today was a little bit personally of him almost walking that back a little bit. And I don't think you'll be hearing sort of comments like that about players in the future, but I could be wrong. What he did talk about, though, was a few players, 2 who deserve massive praise for their recent form. So let's have a listen to what he said recently about these.
He's done really good in the last 3 games. So I think it's again a challenge for him to go to the fourth, to go to the fifth, to go to the sixth game. But I think I'm not the only one who liked the way he played with so much confidence, with so much work rate, giving it all in every single moment for the team. And really, really, really comfortable on the ball as well. But that starts tomorrow against a challenging opponent like Spurs.
Probably worked it out. It was Curtis Jones that he was talking about. And I agreed with him on this because he was asked about, like, what's the thing Curtis Jones has got to do to stay in the team? Because he started 3 in a row, hasn't he? And he's been brilliant in recent games. I don't think there's any doubt in that, as Arne Slot alluded to. But he's right. The thing we need from Curtis Jones now is, in Arne Slot's word, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. That's what we want to see. Little dips. And quite often it tends to be injuries, doesn't it? That's what we need to avoid for Curtis Jones as well. Those little niggles that he gets repeatedly and means he's out the team for a while. Because right now, it's him, Szoboszlai, and one other in midfield. There's zero doubt about it. Curtis Jones and Szoboszlai keep this form up all the way through into sort of the new year and well beyond. I just think there'll be a lot of good results for Liverpool. Won't all be perfect, of course, but they are so crucial to that team now. And at the same time, he talked about another player who's also been in form. Probably work this one out quite quickly, but let's have a listen to this at the same time.
They did double the amount of work, a little bit exaggerated, but almost double the amount of work that he did 3 months ago, where I also had to take him off with cramp. So, but his ability to score, his technique, his speed, all these things, that's just what he has. So no one is surprised to see that. But he improved a lot in terms of how much he runs during a game, how hard he works. And that's a big help for the team as well, because people are focused only on goals, but he helps us out now defensively as well. And that is also very important for a number 9.
Yeah. How good's Hugo Ekitike been recently? Back-to-back doubles in the Premier League. First name or first attacking name on the team sheet, isn't he? Looking good. And also, I think you start to see it more pointedly. And I'm hoping it continues, touch wood, in the last few weeks. Liverpool look like they're getting used to playing with a number 9. And I mean a proper number 9 that we've had people play there, but often it's been an element of, obviously nothing compares to Bobby Firmino, but he wasn't an out-and-out 9. We know this. Luis Diaz has been there as well. All those variations. It's just starting to look good. And Hugo Ekitike, yes, he's got cramp in a few games, but you can see how hard he's working, how much distance he's covering for the team as well. Let's just hope, most importantly, we continue to make him chances, because you saw how many shots he had against Brighton. Let's hope that continues. Plenty to be positive about, but the mood can change, can't it? The mood was positive, though, after Brighton, largely. I think when you talk about the lessons learned from the last one, as we said, that you need a bit of luck at times. It's important to say that. We had 3 big chances. They had 3 big chances. Diego Gomez of them had it all, didn't he? The one-on-one with Alisson, should have scored at the back post when inexplicably he missed, and put studs in the chest of Florian Wirtz. So things can look a bit different. Also, it's great when you get an early goal, isn't it? We don't see many of those at Anfield, so to see them is absolutely brilliant. But lots of good individual performances was my takeaway at the same time. I thought Wirtz's first half was brilliant. Faded a bit in the second, but from the first half, everything seemed to go through him. And everything also went through Curtis Jones, who had a full, 90-minute performance there. Again, brilliant at the same time. Milos Kerkez's best game in a Liverpool shirt against a tough opponent in Yankuba Minter. There's going to be a lot of teams don't fancy, and fullbacks getting slaughtered by him. Really good. You just hope Kerkez can now start to put it together a little bit better. From Ibu, you rode your luck, but a clean sheet we will take. But maybe most importantly, Christ, we actually created stuff. Do you know how boring it's been to watch games at Anfield recently? Yeah, a bit too end-to-end, I get, but creative. expansive, played some really nice football at times. That was great to see. So in terms of that Brighton game, for me, plenty of positives there. But we turn our attention to obviously this 5:30 tomorrow. Spurs and the threats they will bring. They're a fascinating side. They're a basket case of a club, really, it's fair to say. I actually like Thomas Frank, and I think there was early doors, there were some good signs. There really were ever since you saw them in that Super Cup game against PSG. But then again, you look at it and probably shouldn't be surprised that they are 11th in the table. Won 6, lost 6, drawn 4, 25 scored, but 21 conceded. In all honesty, I know we are 4 points ahead of them, but there's a lot of things that don't look too different from us when you see it. They've lost the same number of games with 6. It's probably just the difference between the draws and the wins. We scored 26, they've scored 25. So there is an awful lot of similarities there. However, this is important. They're getting booed at home repeatedly. Vicario's getting booed. Thomas Frank is sorting issues and having to defend his future a little bit as well. The Jed Spence thing's just a bit bizarre, isn't it, all around that situation? But you do feel like if you can control the game, not concede early, which would be nice if we start doing that away as well, they might just get on top of their own team there at that stadium. But they still bring threats. That's important to say. And even when, and this is also crucial, you look at their recent form, I know out of the last 5 that they've lost 3. They got that, put a draw away against Newcastle. You saw when Romero got that double. There is a bit of fight there. They've beaten Brentford at home as well. This is by no means a give me. This is by no means a certainty that abject performance they served up against Forest will be the same forthcoming. Also, he does man nothing, but Richarlison started to maybe get a goal against us. We want to stop that at the same time. There is, thank God we didn't sign Javi Simmons, but there is some threats like Kudus on his day, which isn't the most often, one-on-one. It's also a little bit strange. He's almost bombing out Brennan Johnson, isn't he, as well, who's had a few goals at different times. But Spurs are just one of those clubs. Also, they can be a basket case, both ends on set pieces as well. But Romero and Van der Ven will need to be watched. Yeah, it's one of those that it's all right for us to say we expect us to win, but it might not be as easy and we need to be on it because you just don't know what Spurs is going to turn up. In terms of what Liverpool will turn up, I'm still a bit swithering on a few, but I'm 99% certain on a lot of who will be in this lineup. For instance, it's Alisson in net, so obviously unless something happens. It's BVD and Ibu at centre-back because they are the only centre-backs available, which obviously needs to be corrected. Right back, you think Conor Bradley is there. He was suspended, wasn't he, for Brighton? And Jeremy Frimpong's just back. So Conor Bradley right back, you'd well suspect. And again, Milos Kerkez at left back. So that'll be the back 5. In the middle, and here's where it gets a little bit tougher. Curtis has got to be on the team sheet, of course. I think Dominic Szoboszlai, touch wood, sounds like he's fit. So you're expecting him to be on the team sheet as well. And that, I think, will be Ryan Gravenberch there. Now, it'd be easy for me just to go, well, there's your 3 forwards then. But this is what I think will happen. And I could be wrong on this. I think it will be Wirtz from the left. Hugo Ekitike's got to be on the team sheet. And then this is the swither. Does he put Alexander Isak in alongside there, or does he stay on the bench and it's Maka to give you the extra man a little bit, like we essentially started with against Brighton at home. Outnumber them a bit in the midfield. And away from home, that is what I think will happen. I think you will see all four midfielders, Jones, McAllister, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai in there, with Florian Wirtz almost given a freer role behind Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak on the bench. That is what I'm thinking will happen. It wouldn't surprise me if Isak starts. It's right to ask questions. 125 million, if he is. Had the knock last week. If he doesn't start, what does that say? Although I think we know. But yeah, that's how I think he'll do it. Alisson in nets, right back Bradley, left back Wirtz. In the centre, it's BBD and Ibu. All four midfielders to play: Jones, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Wirtz, and Ekitike. That is what I think the 11 will be. Could be wrong. Which then brings us to score and scorers. Maybe this is bullish. Maybe this is going to make me look really stupid, but it's best just trusting gut. I think a 3-1 in this. I really do. A 3-1 victory, Hugo Ekitike to be on the score sheet. But at this time of year, people, Arne Slot's had a week with them essentially on the training ground. So you want to see a performance as well, but the result is still the most important thing. You can win this, then you look at the next two afterwards at home, Leeds, Wolves, thinking, should be getting 6 from that. All of a sudden, by the turn of the year, the table can look not brilliant, but an awful lot better all of a sudden. We will have to see the way. Take a 3-1, we'll take a victory. We will take a victory with no injuries as well. Because if you're honest, the transfer window's not far away. Probably you want to see a centre-half in, although they're still the strongest story. Alex Cook even mentioned it here, didn't he, this morning? Liverpool are actively pursuing a deal for Antoine Semenyo in January, and City have held talks with the forward. And Jamie Jackson from The Guardian reporting that Liverpool are in pole position with City in second at the moment. So we'll have to see what that brings as well. There is an embargo at 10:30. We'll see what Arne Slot says. Will he mention transfers? Will he mention anything else? No idea. I have to wait till later to find out. But Friday the 19th of December, ahead of that game against Spurs, that was another post-conference presser for Anfield Index.